What's up, everybody? Hey, friends. It's almost 12 o'clock. My goal is to start right at 12. So, in the meantime, I'm going to pour up my beer, wait for 12 o'clock to hit, and start just a little closing remark situation. So, we got a few people on. We're going to give it maybe another 30 seconds for people to hop on. I'm going to pour my beer. As y'all know, Monday was my birthday, and I had a VIP bottle share, sort of opening night meet and greet for all of the panelists, the moderators, speakers, event hosts. We all got together on Monday at Atlantucky to kick things off. I had the keynote conversation with Ale. At the same time, Black Beer Travelers, Brandon was doing the virtual bottle share and online engagement. And so that was beautiful. And we just hung out and drank beer for way longer than what I paid for. We were supposed to be there from 7:30 until I think 9:30 was my reservation, but some of us did not leave until the next day. It was a long, fun night, but one of my favorite brewers in Atlanta came by. Hey, Brooke, thank you for the happy belated birthday wish. Thank you so much. One of my favorite brewers, Justin Ramirez at Arches, came by and brought me, which is a beer, which is my favorite beer. Now, we have brewed, we meaning me, some ladies from Craft Women Connect, some Pink Boots lady, got together at Arches this last year and brewed a beer with them. We brewed Crazy Hoppy Cool using the annual Pink Boots Society's blend, hop blend. And that was a strawberry sorbet beer. But my favorite beer at Arches is Mystic Bock. And if you're from Atlanta or you get Arches where you're from, you know about Mystic Bock. This is malty rich caramelly. It's a Bock beer, and they do excellent traditional styles at Arches. And Justin brought me this one. So I'm pouring that up for my noon toast. I don't think I told y'all to bring a beer, but I'm assuming that y'all have beer wherever you are. So pour up a beer and let's talk about the week. First of all, cheers to Friday. I'm gonna take my first sip if you don't mind. It's such a good beer. It reminds me of like decadent, like a dessert almost. It's so rich, so full, and has some roasty notes. It has a good amount of hops because I get like a nice bitterness, very earthy, beautiful beer. So cheers to Friday. Cheers to the end of Crafted for Action Craft Beer Con. Thank you so much for spending this week with me. I love beer, as you all know. I know you all do too. I love American Craft Beer Week. At least I remember how it used to be when I first got into beer, and that was probably about 10 or 12 years ago. But I remember cities, local communities doing a whole lot to promote American Craft Beer Week, to have events, to just kind of be out into the community and have the community come into their spaces. And it has really died down lately. And so when I started thinking about doing a craft beer conference years ago, I wasn't thinking about so much of where Craft Beer Week was going to be. I was thinking of it then when it was still kind of exciting. So I knew this year that I wanted to plan the conference. When I decided that I was going to actually do it, hunkered down and decided to do it, I decided that it had to be American Craft Beer Week because I had a nostalgic view of it and I wanted to bring the energy back. So this is the first ever Crafted for Action Craft Beer Con. Give yourself a round of applause if you had anything to do with being here, if you promoted it, if you liked a post that I made, if you shared on your story. Put some clapping hands or some raised hands down the bottom in the comments. Let me know, because first I have to thank the craft community. So many of y'all in Atlanta, across the country, and even a few international people help promote Crafted for Action. I've been calling it the most diverse craft beer conference on the planet. I don't think that can be refuted. If someone knows of one that's a lot more diverse than this one, you let me know. But I was so proud of how many people of color, how many women, how many small breweries, how many startups were a part of this, how many people who only have, 4,000 followers like me, like, those of us who are not, maybe not as big or as well noted yet as some of these bigger names. We have amazing craft beer conferences in our country, but not a whole lot catered to like the startup and the beginner and the young company. And that's what I consider myself to be. As you know, Atlanta Beer Boutique is my baby, the beer shop and retail space and cafe that I'm looking to open. I've been working on opening. And so I'm a startup, and I know how important it is for people at our level to have a space and to have a voice and to have, you know, a place at the table in the craft beer community. And we don't often get that. We have fresh ideas. We are on the cusp. We are new. And so I think that having conversations with people in our community who have a voice and have something to say is really important. And on top of that, pairing and partnering with small breweries to make things happen. It's just been a joy of a week for me. So I'm really excited about what this is going to grow into. I wanted to thank the sponsors who had contributed beer, product, funds, any kind of support. That includes Craft by EDU. That's the organization founded by Dr. J. She gave away Freedom homebrew kits and memberships all week. I'm doing one more, so stay tuned for that. Thank you to Creature Comforts, the Brewers Association, the American Homebrewers Association, Monday Night Brewing, Atlanta Brewing, Reformation, New Realm, Second Self, all provided product to help make the in-person events. As you know, I had some in-person events and virtual panels. And so making those in-person events in a really condensed time frame was a bit of a challenge, and getting sponsorships too, to be honest. So thank you to anyone who responded to my request and who stood up and stepped up to the plate. I knew I could count on local breweries to do that. And the breweries that are a part of this are all local, all Atlanta folks. So thank you to those people. Thank you to anyone who hosted an event during the week. That includes Round Trip Brewing, Atlantucky, Soul Brothers Brewing, My Abuela's Food, all of those spaces where we were able to gather in person, but in small groups, and kind of share and talk about beer and various topics. Thank you for hosting us. And to the amazing panelists, moderators, speakers, thank you so much for your assistance during this week. I was intentional about who I recruited or who I asked, or sometimes beg and pleaded with to be a part of this week. But it runs the gamut, like I said, from a lot of us who are startups to some of the bigger craft brands, everyone in between, people who are in marketing, people who are in strategy, people who are not in beer at all. I wanted to be sure that we had conversations, and included in those conversations people who were not a part of our beer community. I think that, at the core of Crafted for Action is diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is why I felt compelled to start a conference. It was really on the heels of 2020, and the myths that were shattered about diversity, equity, and inclusion in a lot of industries, including ours. A lot of breweries and our industry really was just called to the carpet, and we had to do something about it. And so a lot of good things happened last year, a lot of great conversations, a lot of initiatives, the Road to 100, Black is Beautiful, a lot of good things happened. And I wanted to leverage that. I wanted to then take those good things that were happening and turn them into opportunities for us to make real sustainable change from the conversations that we're having. And that's why I call it Crafted for Action, because it's important to me that we do things that are action oriented in our community. And so thank you to anyone who was a part of delivering that content, creating that content, creating those conversations and those spaces for robust conversations to happen. I have fantastic moderators and panelists. So again, thank you. And then, people wildly came in town from out of town, which I just still can't believe. Folks from New York, Orlando, Texas, Washington State, Ohio, Chicago showed up in Atlanta, which to me is just a preview of what this is going to be next year and the years to follow. My goal is to do this in person and for this to be a huge annual event that has a conference and a fun sort of festival component at the end. So I'm excited about what's to be, and thank anyone who came in from out of town to little old Atlanta to hang out with me. And then thank you to anyone who had, again, anything to do with promoting the craft community. You guys, like I said, just posted and shared and tweeted and liked all my posts. And I posted a lot about this conference. So you'll get a break from all that from me. But thank you for sharing with your friends and your networks and telling people who you knew who may want to be a part of this week to be here. So thank you so much for doing that. Behind the scenes, I had a lot of help too. Chanel, Michelle served as my sort of backstage moderators for all these virtual events. Chanel and I started talking about this conference when it became apparent that I was going to do it, which was only 6 weeks ago. So a lot of brainstorming, a lot of help there. Thank you so much. And to anyone who helped came set up. And it's so many. I hope that I'm not missing anyone. I hope that I'm hitting the major ones. Just before I talk about what's next, I want to say I did a little research. I'm looking at my notes on the wall. And we had 350 people register for the virtual component for the conference. Blown away by that. Thank you for anyone who RSVP'd, registered for the conference this year. 118 people came to the in-person events or RSVP to do so. That includes tonight's finale event, which is Brews and Beats and live music and beer interactive pairing happening tonight at Atlantucky. Last time I checked, there were like 4 tickets left. So that's basically sold out. So that's probably 120 in-person RSVPs. And as of now, 664 YouTube views for the 13 virtual sessions that have been posted on YouTube, which is astounding to me. I'm just so excited about the fact that this content will only, not only be available to people who registered virtually, but to people from now until whenever, into perpetuity. This is such important information. The conversations that we had around the 3 topics for the conference, and those topics were innovation in science, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the third was the business of beer. So much good content created, such great conversations. So I'm excited to find out a way to chop and screw that information and make it available into bite-sized chunks, into smaller lessons, to create more content out of that and to share that as widely as I can. There's some really good nuggets in there for breweries and for beer businesses. We had topical discussions on how to make tap rooms more inclusive, how to bring more women into beer. We had discussions about different segments of the brewing world. So outside of craft beer, talking about kombucha and other fermented beverages. We had discussions about marketing and how hip hop culture has influenced beer. So a lot of good content that I think not only breweries can take advantage of, but folks like us who are just curious to learn more about the craft. So I'm excited for finding other ways to share that information, but it's available right now. It's on YouTube and it's a part of the Facebook group. So just a fantastic week, in my opinion, all in all, and I'm just excited for everyone who had a chance to be a part of it. So the last thing I'll talk about, if there are any questions, please pop them into the comments. If you, I see lots of comments bubbling up, so thank you for being here and engaging. But if you have questions, just throw them in the comments, and I'll talk about what's next for Crafted for Action. First, I'm going to take a week off. Next week, I'm going to just chill and relax and reflect really on this week, and just give myself a little time do that. And then I am going to review all the content. I had a chance to listen in on a few sessions. I also served as a backstage admin for some of the sessions, so I got to listen in to a few of them. But I really want to just take my time and listen and then go through the comments on all the platforms and understand the conversations that were happening, and just digest the info. So I'm going to take some time to do that. But the goal for Crafted for Action has always been, since I thought it up, to be an annual occurrence and to be a chance for us to really not just talk and hang out, but to create action items, actionable steps for change in the craft beer community. And like I said earlier, that might require reaching beyond the brewery, reaching beyond our current group and core of people. Our industry and all industries can benefit and grow from being exposed to and listening to people outside of their norm. And so I plan to always keep these conversations fresh, to always reach outside of our community to pull in new, fresh ideas, innovations that we might not have thought about, especially when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, because if our industry has been trying to do it, then our industry is not doing very well because there's so much room for improvement. And we know it's a challenge. And so that's why these conversations were important, to just begin those conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then those other topics of science, innovation, and the business of beer. But my goal, and after listening to all this content, is to figure out where the priorities are, looking at your comments, I'm looking at the conversations of the moderators and the panelists, identifying what those priorities are, and then create some actionable steps around them. And that's going to come with the help of a lot of people. So right now I have a Facebook group that is open this week. I made it open just so that folks could easily access it through the conference. But the goal is to close that and make it private, because that's where the discussions about diversity, equity, inclusion, science, innovation, the business of beer will happen. That's where we're going to have deeper dives into all of this and to figure out what we as a brewing community and a beer community can do to start creating steps in the right direction. And it's going to take all of us and people from all over. That's why I'm so excited that our Facebook group, it's 120 plus members right now, but it's people from all over. And I'm excited to dive into that group and to figure out what's next for our industry, and to use whatever bubbles up to the top as a priority as sort of the foundation for next year when we come back to Crafted for Action 2022. The discussions that we have throughout the year for the next year or so or less will be how we frame the conversation for the next year. And so I'm looking forward to doing that with y'all. I'm excited about what's to come. And again, thank you all for being here. I'm going to take a sip of my beer, see if there's any questions. I don't think I saw any, and that's fine too. I've seen some awesome comments though. Thank you so much for those and for the comments and for being here. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to leave it there. I want to again thank everyone who had anything to do with Crafted for Action 2021 in its first year. I'm excited about what's next. And I should say that if you register for the conference virtually or came to an in-person event, if I have your email address, I'm going to be sending a survey. I see someone asking, what can we do for you? Please respond to the survey. Let me know if there any things that were off this year, anything that you wish we had talked about or covered, any ideas, suggestions, recommendations for how to make things better next year. I would love your response to the survey that I'll be sending out. You'll get that soon. And I'm also going to do some kind of recap. I'm not sure if it's going to be just a summary document, a one-pager, a video, or something. After I have a chance to kind of go through everything, then we'll distribute that information back to you so you can see it and kind of dive into and see what's next. So Thank you so much. Oh, that's my mom saying this is an awesome concept and big congrats to you. Thanks, mommy. Thank you so much. Mommy came to the tour at Round Trip Brewing and had a good time. And also she came to the in-person event at My Abuela's Food, which was a collaboration discussion with Second Self. And we had a good time. So thanks, Mom. And thanks to anyone else. I'm just excited and I'm very full. And just feel so good about what's next for our community. So with that, I'm going to end the broadcast and say thanks. Bye.